I'd like to welcome all of you to today's ceremony, where we will honor 7 individuals who have dedicated a lifetime of service to the sport of wrestling. Each of us in this auditorium have been impacted by the individuals being honored today, and we each understand the importance that wrestling has played in their lives as well as most of ours. My name is Jim Meyerhoff, and I have the privilege of serving as the director of the Washington State Wrestling Coaches Association Hall of Fame. This will be our 38th ceremony since the inaugural class in 1984, and at the end of our ceremony tonight, we will have 158 Hall of Fame inductees. A couple reminders before we get going. Please take care of any sounds on these right now. You can have them out for pictures, but other than that, unless you're checking a high school football score, no reason to have them out. Our 2 games just ended, so I don't need to check it. Restrooms are right outside. I believe they're going to leave the beverage cart open. If you'd like to go out again, please be discreet as you go outside quickly and quietly, and don't be whooping and hollering as you go up and down the hallway. You got another drink. Prior to honoring the class of 2023, I need to make some introductions. The Washington State Wrestling Coaches Association Executive Board has put in a great deal of work to run a very successful coaches clinic for over 125 wrestling coaches yesterday and today. Please save your applause until all of them have been introduced. The Executive Board consists of Bob Freund, Brian Alfie, stand up please, Bob's there, Brian's there, Barb Morgan, Todd Slaughter. I haven't seen Boomer. Is Boomer here? Good, because he's my photographer. And Rob Zabel. So thank you for your work, Executive Board. The next group to introduce to you is the current members of the Hall of Fame who are in attendance today. And I hope I have my list complete. One person I saw earlier, and he's probably with Boom, is maybe not with Boomer. Okay, I'll check. These members are current members of the Washington State Wrestling Coaches Association Hall of Fame. First, from last year's class, from the class of 2022, we have Steve Hood. I'm going to be scanning quickly. Steve is back here. And Tom Triple. Tom is right here. From the class of 2019, Mike Compton. From the class of 2018, we have myself along with Craig Hansen. From the class of 2013, this is the one I have not seen yet, Brian Higa. Are you here? Yeah. Brian, somebody tried to stand up. Okay, Brian Higa will be here in a bit. So Brian Higa from the class of 2013. And from the class of 2011, Bob Lynn. Where did Bob get to? From the class of 2010, Scott Jones. From the class of 2007, Dean Largent. From the class of 1999, right up here in front, Rick Iversen. And from the class of 1997, George Wilfong. Did anybody sneak in that I didn't see? All right, thank you for being here, Hall of Fame members. I gotta tell you, this is our biggest attendance at an induction banquet in many, many years, maybe up to Great Wolf many years ago. So we're glad to have our Hall of Famers as well as all the people here to support them. Our last introduction is to quickly meet our award nominees and Hall of Fame for the class of 2023. Please stand and be recognized and remain standing until all inductees have been introduced. Our Babbitt Award recipient is Karen Ebel, who is represented by her daughter, Leanne Johnson. Our Tomaras Award recipient is Randy Tomaras. Our Hall of Fame inductees, Bryan Bartelson, Bob Freund, Iversen, Matt Jorgensen, and Kalal. Got it, Boomer? On off, it's on top. That's photography teacher trying to figure out a non-technical camera. I get it. Here's how our ceremony will progress tonight. I give a brief introduction of each honoree, and then call the inductee to the stage, where we present their award and allow for some photos. So we're going to do this. You can get pictures. You'll get a picture or two. The inductee will then have their opportunity to address the audience. Each of our honorees have been allotted 7 minutes for their comments. Waiting for some chuckles from some of you, because that's either way too long for some of them or not even close for some of them. This is the length of a high school match plus 1 minute of overtime. We do not want to get to sudden death overtime. I hope it doesn't become necessary to throw the towel I have sitting right over there. Some of them don't think I will get them off the stage, but we'll see. And now we begin with the presentation of 2 special awards that the Washington State Coaches Association gives out to some very deserving people. The Contributors Award was started in 1985 and was later named after its first recipient, Joe Babbitt. This award recognizes individuals who often work behind the scenes to make wrestling happen in our state. The list of 34 previous recipients demonstrates a wide variety of backgrounds and contributions to all aspects of the sport. And I was neglectful in not reading my entire script on one page because we have a previous Contributors Award winner that I need to recognize. Carl Winham is in the back, received the award in 1998. My apologies, Carl, there. And to honor this year's recipient of the Joe Babbitt Contributors Award, Karen Ebel began volunteering as a pairing official when her son was younger and participating in local tournaments. She learned quickly and was soon running local tournaments before moving on to regional and national level events. Karen has worked at Mariner High School in Mukilteo since 1999 and recently retired in August. Her work at Mariner with the Wesco League and over 20 years at Mac Classic are examples of her commitment to wrestling in our state. In your program, you'll notice there's a long list of awards that she has received, and they are very impressive and well-deserved. Karen is not able to be here with us this evening. Accepting the award on her behalf will be her daughter, Leanne Johnson. Please help me recognize Karen Ebel as a 2023 recipient of the Joe Babbitt Contributors Award. I want to see some of them jump. Not Leanne, I want to see some of them jump up here.
I am not Karen Ebel, although I look like her more and more every day. My name is Leanne Johnson, and I am her daughter. Unfortunately, my mom was not able to make it tonight. She is currently battling leukemia and has had lots of ups and downs, and unfortunately this week was a down. We just found out a couple days ago she couldn't make it. So because her immune system is down, her doctor advised her to stay home this weekend. So therefore, I was nominated to give her speech. Lucky me. And so Karen wanted to thank a few people who got her involved and kept her involved. So unfortunately, I have to talk about myself. That's great. Here it goes. Good evening. What an honor to be recognized by the WAA Coaches Association and the Washington wrestling community. I'm so disappointed that I could not be here. A little history. My son, Russell Ebel, was 8 years old when he started wrestling. I was the mom yelling in the stands, "Pin him, you can do it." Shortly after that, I started helping at tournaments due to the boredom between matches, so I started helping in the pairings room. Russell wrestled until just before his senior year in high school. He sustained a major neck injury that prevented him from competing ever again. Several years later, Russ did come back and started coaching for the Mariner girls high school team. He now resides in Tahuya, near Belfair. Russell is the caretaker for the Girls Scout camp, and with his teaching degree and the love for his outdoors, this is the perfect job for him. Russell's little sister, Leanne Johnson, that's me, I was 3 years old when my brother started wrestling. She would pack her toy bags and bring her blankets, and at the tournaments, when I got tired, you would find her underneath the head table taking naps. Leanne's favorite part of wrestling tournaments was helping roll up the mats because she knew it was at that time that the tournament was almost done and it was time to go home. Leanne is now involved with USA Wrestling and International Wrestling, and just recently was announced that she'll be part of Team USA and is going to be working at the 2024 Olympics in Paris. My grandson, Caleb Johnson, was 5 years old when he started wrestling. He is now a freshman this year at Marysville Gaucho High School. He plans on wrestling for them. And now I can be back in the stands shouting, "Go Caleb, I'll sign your forehead." He was also part of the Junior Home Run League Derby for the MLB this year and had several players and celebrities from the Celebrity All-Star Game sign his forehead, so Grandma's ready to sign his forehead. This and his little sister Samantha is just like her mom, toys in a bag and a blanket in the other hand. You can find her underneath the head table taking naps as well. I never understood how they would sleep with all those whistles and yelling, but they did. Wrestling has been a huge part of our family for 3 generations and 35 plus years, and I wouldn't change a thing. There has been, and I have seen a lot of changes over the years. Tournaments didn't always have a copy machine. Brackets were handwritten, bout sheets were handwritten, results were handwritten, and now most of Washington uses track wrestling. Mat side scoring, no more bout sheets, just save results, hit a button, and a bracket is done. Weight management is also new the last few years, and this provides education for safe weight loss and saves lives. Then there's girls wrestling. Skeptics say that it would never work, but boy were they wrong. Numbers have grown so much that Washington has to now split the girls divisions at Mat Classic. It has truly been an honor to see all of these changes over the last several decades, and a privilege to be honored with this award. Thank you for the nomination, and congratulations to all those who are also being recognized into the Washington Wrestling Hall of Fame tonight. Thank you.
I'm sure there's been a few of us that have slept through many a tournament at some point, right? Even with whistles going on. The next award is presented by the Coaches Association, and it is named after the father of Washington wrestling, Dr. William Tomaras, in recognition for outstanding contributions to the sport of wrestling. The 17 individuals honored previously with this award have dedicated their lives to advancing the sport in Washington and beyond. The 2023 recipient is no exception. Randy Tomaras had a front row seat to the evolution of Washington wrestling, as he is the son of Bill and Dolly Tomaras. Randy has done it all, and I mean all, in his life, and he's still going. High school and college wrestler, coach, camp director, cultural exchange director on a local and national level, U.S. Olympic Committee, Goodwill Games, U.S. Opens, nationally recognized photographer, author, publisher, legislative lobbyist for the benefit of college wrestling, international relations with the Soviet Union at the highest level, most of which you probably can't talk about, and so much more. And this weekend, he was a speaker at the Coaches Clinic. Randy continues to live a life full of experiences that impact people. In May, Randy Tomaras will be inducted into the Washington chapter of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. The Washington State Wrestling Coaches Association is proud to present the 2023 Tomaras Award to Randy Tomaras.
Dreams are free, but reality has a price. That was one of the lessons that I learned from my dad. And I'm going to talk about him because this award will stick around for a long time while I'm gone. So I'm going to tell you about 5 of the lessons, of the many lessons that I learned from my dad. Imagine being 5'3" and 120 pounds, and you've just been nominated the college coach at Washington State, not nominated, but hired as the Washington coach at Washington State University. There were only 7 teams in the entire state that wrestled. And mostly they were smokers after boxing. Smoke-filled gyms, I might add. Well, Dad started going around from PE class to PE class with all the different schools. And he brought guys in like Eric Beardsley, who was the coach at Moses Lake. And he started teaching them wrestling. And he did that. When he retired later on, there were 283 schools that wrestled, and 18 junior colleges and 13 colleges. And so he developed that and just kept on marketing and promoting. So at one time he had, at the very end, he had 68% of all the coaches in the state were people he started or had on his wrestling team. If you want change, number 2, is if you want to change the world, know who and what changed you. Dad, when he started off, was in college, was a 4.0 political science major. And he was nominated and selected to be a constitutional lawyer. He decided that he wanted to stay with wrestling because that's what changed his life. And that's when he moved out to Washington State. Number 3 is rewards put you in the future, awards put you in the past. He never let awards be significant to him. It was always the rewards. It was what you got from the sport and what you did that made a difference. And so he always, I'm looking here real quick. Oh, and one of the stories that he, one of the experiences I had with him is I was in junior high, and I was telling him about all the kids that were drunk that last weekend, and they destroyed some property. And he looked at me and he said, I never really understood how somebody can be proud of what everybody else can do. And that made an impact on me. And I've always tried to do things that other people said I couldn't do. Kind of like get the legislation passed for a grant. The 4th lesson that I learned was, this is one of Dad's favorite expressions, everybody puts their jockstrap on the same way. And what he was basically saying is, don't be afraid. Do what you need to do. And I remember after I was undefeated in my junior year, and I was a little bit nervous, and he comes up to me and he says, do you have butterflies? I go, yeah. And he goes, well, get rid of those. Concentrate on what you have to do. Butterflies are negative energy. You don't want to concentrate on negative energy. You want to figure out what you need to do and go ahead and do it. And so that's kind of made an impact on me. And the 5th lesson, there's 1,000 of them. The 5th lesson I want to talk about is emotions never lead to wise decisions. Again, I was a junior in high school, and I was undefeated. And the coach talked me into going up a weight class. I went up a weight class, and it was a kid that I had beat maybe 20 different times. And he ended up, and the coach yelled at me to do something. And I did what the coach said, and I ended up losing the match. And I was so upset that I left the gym, and I told the coach that I was never going to wrestle for him again. You know, the coach said something to my dad, and my dad says, "Oh, relax, I'll talk to him." And I didn't go to practice for the next 2 or 3 days. And finally my dad said, "So do you want to talk about the turning out?" And I said, "No, the only reason I'm turning out is because of you." And he goes, "Well, then you should quit." And he didn't say another word. And for the rest of the week, I thought about it, and I go, "No, I really want to wrestle." And so, you know, after that year, I placed in state, and he said, "Well, did you learn a lesson from that experience?" And I said, "Yeah, emotions are not the time to make wise decisions." And so that was the fifth lesson I learned. But I'm hoping that some of these will resonate with you, and maybe you'll learn something. But that was the type of person that started wrestling in the state of Washington. And if you look out with the Hall of Fame members, there's many others who have carried on some of that tradition. And I appreciate every one of you. I appreciate my teammates for coming and supporting me. And I thank you very much for this award, and I will cherish it. Thank you.
One of the benefits of doing this job is knowing some of these people really well. We live on the same street. We don't see each other very often, but we live on the same street. We coach against each other. We live in the same district. We wrestle with the same coaches. All you have to do is look at Bryan and know he probably could have used a couple shots about a half hour ago. And he doesn't drink, so it's now time to induct the 5 coaches selected as new members of the Washington State Wrestling Coaches Association Hall of Fame for the class of 2023. Our first inductee grew up in Kalal and wrestled for Hall of Fame coach George Wolfong. Bryan Bartelson began coaching right out of high school and continued to develop young wrestlers until his retirement in 2021. He coached many levels, from kids programs to middle school to high school. During his high school coaching career at both Ording and Kalal, Bryan coached many state placers, earned Coach of the Year and Sportsman of the Year honors, and a highlight for Bryan had to be coaching all 3 of his children at that classic. Bryan was instrumental in the early development of girls wrestling in Washington, and his efforts have helped our state become a leader in the number of girls participating in the fastest growing sport in the nation. Whitney Conger placed in the boys division twice and continued to compete in the international level until last year when she retired. Her 2 daughters earned 8 top 3 medals, as Jordan was the state's second 4-time girls champion and Brooklyn won a state title along with 3 other medals. In recognition of a lifetime service to the sport of wrestling, the Washington State Wrestling Coaches Association is proud to induct Bryan Bartelson as a Hall of Fame member of the class of 2023. She's over there. I know who's the boss. Thank you very much. Tough one to follow out here. After that, we'll get started. So it's a great honor and here to be recognized in the Hall of Fame, and I'm truly humbled to be chosen to be seated at the table as Washington's best. So much appreciation from my family and friends that have come a long way to be able to share this nomination with me. I did want to say that somebody has allowed my friend to come up and read the speech. I tried to get one of mine to do that. He said, no, he's leaving.
How close are we? I don't know. A special thanks to George Wolfong, who's my coach and mentor that has come here for us to be able to share this with us today and supporting my coaching career. The Lord has blessed my family and myself with so much, and it's an honor to be here. Okay. As a youth, I was a child with an abundance of energy. Nowadays, we have initials for that. It's called ADD. So wrestling was a great fit for me, and it taught me commitment, discipline, and focus with all the energy that I had. Wrestling was a great foundation for life, as it is life. The successes and losses came when the bonds on the mat lasted a lifetime. For example, my friend Mike Sowers was, as a freshman, on my competition. I'll tell you how to meet him later. So, for the next years, we became teammates and partners and training partners at Puyallup High School. And then for the next 40 years, we raised our families together. I've been a coach for 34 years and I've usually run 2 programs at the same time, a total of 64 seasons of high school and little league together. Makes me think about all the time that we put together with our children and athletes and be able to build them up. When I was 20 years old, I got a coaching position at Oregon Middle School. Luckily enough to have my own personal bus driver, Pat Baker. 14 years later, I took on the head coaching job at Puyallup High School, and at that time I found out I was the only person who applied for the job. And that they hired Pat Baker to babysit me for the last 14 years. So much for being totally special, right? It was a great experience, though. So, during the time at Puyallup, Jenny, my wife, who was my statistician, event organizer, and CFO of the family business and of home, of course, we all know that if you're married. We started our journey together, promoting the wrestling and Puyallup community. Coaching and mentoring our children through their journey was very special to us. And this was the greatest part of my coaching career, was to be able to be with our kids. Now, if you ask Brooklyn and Jordan and Chance that, they might have a completely different story because they were asked to leave the practice room several times. In my youth, I wanted to win titles. And by the end of my career, I realized that there's a bottom line to everything. My current approach to athletes from 4 to 24 is have a can-do attitude and be the hardest worker. With this simple formula, all things in life will come together. It's about the athlete falling in love with the sport. There's so many coaches are going to share that today. One of the best things I've ever heard that came from a speech from the Georgia Tech strength coach, and this is what it is. It says, here's what you should know about winning before you chase it. Winning does not loyal to you. Winning does not care about you. Winning does not care how sore you are. Winning does not care about how much sleep you get. Winning does not care about how hard you work, or at times the guy doesn't actually work as hard as you, but he still wins. Winning requires all of you, and then more, and sometimes you receive nothing from it. Winning is the master of creating fear and doubt in your mind, and it causes setback after setback. So the question about winning is, are you willing to sprint when the distance is unknown? Why chase a thing called winning? Because the only thing that guarantees of life is that if you don't chase it, is losing. It's a great speech I think I ever heard. And one other thing for me is that don't judge me by me, judge me by my children is one that I truly do, and then work to find some. We've done that for all these years, for all the children, having great experiences with everybody. I want to thank you very much. God bless.
See, doesn't that feel better? Now they still got to do it. Our next inductee has been involved in wrestling at Deer Park since 1995, starting with the kids program, then the middle school, prior to coaching at Deer Park High School from 2004 to 2021. Matt Jorgensen coached the Stags to 8 state championships in 2 different classifications. That included a run of 5 straight state titles. 13 straight years of bringing home hardware from that classic. That's pretty impressive. Deer Park won 6 regional championships, 7 league titles. During his career, he coached 110 state placers, and that includes 25 state champions. Matt was selected as state coach of the year twice. I'm sure he's also quite proud of the fact that his son Ryan took over as coach at Deer Park upon his retirement. You're still helping every once in a while? Okay. For his service to the sport of wrestling, we're proud to welcome Matt Jorgensen as a distinguished Hall of Fame member of the class of 2023.
Boomer's on the ones here just to watch me screw this up. Thanks, Boomer, I love you. Thanks for everyone being here. I appreciate it. I saw a lot of old friends who've been here. I haven't seen for a long time. I really appreciate seeing good faces, family faces, old faces. Before I forget, my time hasn't started yet, Jim. I got my watch there. No, I got it. Corporate building, 271. All friends and family. I'm buying some beverage and some pizza at the end of this. Love for you to come around and share some stories. And even if you don't know me, just come by for some free pizza and beverage. I don't know what that was, but thank you. I'm excited, nervous, honored to be here. I'm grateful, and yeah, it's a great feeling. I appreciate everybody being here. I'll get going. If you're expecting a TED Talk, you're in the wrong place. This speech will be a lot like my life, my coaching, my fathering, my parenting. I'm going to try super hard, but I'm probably going to make tons of mistakes. 7-minute match, I get it, Jim. I've never coached a 7-minute match. There's always blood time, injury, and I'm going to argue a couple balls for sure. No, at least. So, family. For me, the greatest thing about this sport is a family that makes. And I'm a very fortunate person. I work in a fire department. I have a fire family. I have my home, my family, my friends, obviously, and then I have my wrestling family. And many of you cross all three of those, but just having that wrestling family, know that we can count on each other, just means a ton to me. Thank you again for being here. Obviously, if I was going to name thank yous, it'd just be a list of names, so I'm going to hit it by groups. So first, my wrestling family. And when I say the word crazy, it's a term of endearment. It's not something bad, right? But you crazy wrestling moms and dads and fans, I love you, and thanks so much for supporting your Deer Park kids. Moms, we know what you did. Everybody in this room knows what crazy wrestling moms have to do to help their kids out. Dads, you gave us the greatest responsibility to help turn your kids into champions on and off the mat. And it was a huge responsibility I think all the coaches at Deer Park took seriously, and I hope we met your expectations. My high school friends and staff. In 17 years of the high school, I had one principal, and I'm going to say 2 ADs, because I don't think Coach Stamps is here, but he was the AD for 1 year since COVID. I don't count that. So one principal and 2 ADs for 17 years, that's pretty impressive. And my principal is here tonight, and he came to duels. I hear schools where they don't support tournaments, and every harebrained idea I had, our ADs would approve it, and they'd go to Joe Weiss, and he would say, they want to drive to Wyoming in January with 3 Suburbans and 20 kids. Stamp, approved, let them do it. On that note, Mr. Weiss, we won our first team state title of any sport in our school, so that was pretty something we got to share together. That was awesome. Wrestlers, I wouldn't change anything. Thank you so much for all that lifetime memories you've given me personally. Selfishly, I know, but I could tell these stories about each one of you in here for hours. Maybe that's what tonight's about. Between the circle drills, which I know you loved, your PTA days, not eating, holidays, your dedication and your trust in us coaches, and I really appreciate that. We definitely sweated together, we bled together, we celebrate huge victories, and we even sometimes cry. Once a year I wear a tie, and I cry, and it's usually at state. It might be tonight too, but it's usually at state. And then year after year we just wrestle our best in that sweet Tacoma Dome. Just every year you guys turned out at the end, and it worked out really great. More important than those big wins, watching several of you guys just go through life, have kids. Almost our whole staff at the junior high and high school are all Deer Park wrestlers. That's one of the most proudest things I have as a coach, is watching that. Those kids continue to be in the sport and be involved. Coaches. So my ones I coach with, against, don't underestimate the impact you have on these kids' lives. It took me a lot of years of coaching to realize that. It wasn't until I was older that wow, those kids should remember some of this stuff. They're watching, they're learning from you. What do you want them to be? So it was a pleasure to learn. It was a pleasure to learn and compete against you. And we talk about family. I know Coach Hansen's in the house. We were bitter rivals back in our day. We were both coaching. He found out I was in the Hall of Fame. He didn't call me. He called my son, and he drove out over an hour to shake my hand, come to my house, and tell me congratulations. And that meant a lot. It really showed that wrestling family. We're definitely dysfunctional, and we'll argue and we'll fight, but wrestling is definitely a family. My high school coach, fellow Hall of Famer now, Mr. Dean Larkin's here. He taught me a lot of things growing up. He taught me to love the sport. And Coach, I think one of the most important things you taught me is you don't have to yell and scream all the time and swear at kids all the time to get them to respond and want to wrestle hard for you. I don't know how you stay calm during your wrestling matches, because I couldn't do that. But it really taught me a lesson that I want to wrestle for you big time, and that can happen. You don't have to yell and scream and swear all the time. Chosen times, for sure. Coach John Owen, he's not with us anymore. He was, I coached from little guy camp, not little guy. Sneak out at 2 in the morning, I've been doing crab walks for him, coached with him at Nationals in Fargo, and then against him in the GNL. He always had my back, and he always put the kids first. That's a huge lesson that the coach taught me. My first set of coaches, I had Miller, Stamps, and Coach Bryant. Miller bailed on me. I'm not here today, or either Stamps. I had some good stuff to say about them. So I'll move right on to Coach Bryant. Coach Bryant, the white hat, you're not going to get away from this, buddy. Coach Bryant was an unpaid volunteer for many, many years. He saved their park wrestling. I was the 4th guy in 4 years. After Coach Larkin left, there was some disarray in the program, and we couldn't keep a coach. And Coach Bryant was a volunteer. He finished at banquets when the other coaches would quit. He'd come into practice when the other coaches weren't there because they just stopped coming to practice. Couldn't have done without you, Coach AB. He was also our medical staff at practices. If you want to know about that, you have to come to the beverage and pizza afterwards. He did teach us the kids how to be tough and no excuse mentalities. Those 4 coaches, we started this thing as far as coaches, and we built this thing together. It was definitely a team sport. Thanks, guys. So as a few years, we started having a lot of success. I have people come up and say, Coach, what do you guys do? How are you doing this? And I remember just thinking, well, we just work hard. Like, all you guys are working hard in your rooms. All the wrestlers are working hard. And so towards the end, I started thinking some things, and I came up with my 3 C's: community, coaches, and credit. So community is a great program. We've had a lot of success. It still continues. A good team is a few years winning a title or placing high. We're coming on 2 decades of top 6 in the state, our classification. And it's because of our community and our people that work hard and support these kids from the time they're 4 until they graduate and then beyond. It's a great program built by many people. Coach Mike Freund helped me out a long time ago. He's not here tonight. Dr. John Harris, where are you at? He's a pillar of our community. I can't tell you all the stuff John Harris does. All I know is I used to have him on speed dial, literally. Dr. John, I say doctor, he's a veterinarian, although he might have x-rayed more wrestlers than dogs. But Dr. John, I need this. I need a junior head coach. I need this. Fundraisers. I need a place for it. You got to have something like that in your community, along with the whole community. And if you get a chance to talk to John Harris tonight, do that for sure. We just had so much community support from, like I told you, my moms and my dads, and and people that didn't even have kids on the team. There's people here tonight that never had a kid wrestle for me, and they're here to support. And that doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you very much. You got to have the coaches, and not just coaches that want a paycheck to show up. They got to be willing to sacrifice their time nearly year-round, total buy-in. I call them Deer Park homers. I want people to love the town, love the school, love the kids, and love the sport. And you got to love the kids just a little bit more. And we have those. We still have them. The one that might surprise you is credit. I've seen a few credit programs that should have excelled super high, and they all want to divvy up the credit. They care about credit. We just have a lot of people that just don't care. Between the little guys, junior highs, folk style, freestyle, we have one wrestling club. And it's just so cool to be a part of that and to see how the community came together. And we just have one focus. We want to make good kids on the mat and off the mat and be winners. My family. So I'll start with my mom. If you don't know who my mom is, Boomer's going to find out. He forgot who she was. So she's in this crazy hat. You know her at state with A, the crazy hat, or B, when she cut you in the line at state, or C, when she was saving 45 seats for 5 people. That was my mom. How crazy she was. She would fly to Tacoma while on vacation in Hawaii. I'm not coming back to Tacoma in February for that, but she did. So I appreciate it, Mom. Thank you. My sons, Ryan, Jason, Tyson, and Matthew. It was so much fun watching you learn. I'm 8 minutes. Just a little blood time, Jim. I'm hustling. I'm almost there. Any coach or /dad would agree it's the best time of my life coaching you boys. And just the life lessons and being part of your epic triumphs and some of your bad defeats. It was all, I take all of it. I have no regrets. Somebody once said, did that take 5 years off your life? In my job, I see that all the time. I'll take that. That semifinals lost match, that was exciting. I'll take it. Thank you boys for a great time. I think only one really loved wrestling, Coach Ryan. The other 3, I think all, if they would have had a choice, would have quit. They didn't have a choice. One time Matthew came up to me and said, Dad, I don't really like wrestling anymore. And I go, yeah, I do a lot of things I don't like either. Let's go to practice, good chat. I hope some stuff you learned in that room and with your crazy old man. I watched attributes that I think you learned there, navigate things that we taught you and you learned yourselves to successful lives. Ryan, thank you so much for, I'm going to cry now, darn it. For letting me hang out in the room with you. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun being there with you. Love you guys. Super proud of the young men you have become. I hope the time in the rest of the room is just a small part of our, as we move forward here. Shannon, so all coaches should thank their wives because they're part of the crazy mom group. And we all say this and we all should. But after I retired, it kind of hit me. I worked a full-time job at the fire station. The first year I didn't wrestle or coach, I was like, how do we do this? And she was like, I just didn't see you for 3 months. So I'd get 10 vacation days from work shifts, I should say. And I'd be like, hey, we got 10 shifts. What do you want to do? I got 9 for wrestling. I got 1 left. What do you want to do? You work a Friday and a Saturday. You guys all go home to your wives and kids for a day. I'd go to the station to work my 24-hour shift. Not a sob story, just to show you how much my wife, she was underappreciated. And I love you, honey. Thanks so much for all the support you gave me. In conclusion, I'm going to watch mine. Remember that everyone I encountered on this journey is important to me. Enjoy the moments, enjoy the people in all your families, your wrestling, your blood family, and your wrestling, and your whatever families you have. Cherish the bad moments with the great. The last couple of years, I've seen many people leave this earth from all my families. To everyone, especially you current coaches, your impact can be huge and long-lasting. Make it the right impact, set the good example, and most importantly, make it count. Thank you very much.
Watch that 6:58. Perfect. Right on. Great job. Craig Iversen wrestled at Marysville Pilchuck for his father Rick, who was a Hall of Fame member, and where he won 2 state championships. And after an All-American career at Central Washington University, he turned to coaching. He was the head coach at Burlington Edison High School from '94 to '99. When his father retired, there was a chance to return home to Marysville Pilchuck, where Craig was the head coach until 2019. He continues to help the Tomahawk program as an assistant coach. During his time with MB, Iversen has coached wrestlers to 4 state championships and had a Dolby record over 72% winning percentage. Craig was instrumental in starting the girls wrestling program at Marysville Pilchuck. Please help me welcome a newly inducted member of the Washington State Wrestling Coaches Hall of Fame, class of 2023, Craig Iversen.
Thank you. Fellow inductees, I'm proud to be in the class and for leading. I was informed of this by Rob Zabel, and I struggled with kind of wrapping around what it actually meant on the contributions to wrestling. It's a tough one to look at, but I think people contribute to me. And I was the one getting. And so I want to run through people that contribute to me. The athletes that encouraged them out. What a tough sport. And especially athletes that didn't wrestle. They just came out, they tried it. They lost weight, had skin issues, had Christmas, Thanksgiving. How wonderful. Parents, they trusted us with their kids. They trusted that we had a bigger picture, that we had a goal, and they were going to come out of the program better. And then I got to be with incredible individuals and coaches. I got to start out at Bryan Bartelson with my dear friend Jorgensen and a very inspirational Jack McTaggart that helped me kind of guide my coaching career. I went down to Marysville, and how lucky was I got to coach my best friends. As we're sitting here, Tony Okozo, Tony Gash, and John Lyons. We're together for 20 years, just a joy. And we're realizing on it, sitting here, we got to pass on the program to one of our alum, Marcus Hoyan. That's made us all proud and got direction. The relationships we get are amazing. And the people need to be around. You got to be around Hall of Famer Lee Anderson, Hall of Famer Mike Compton, And as I'm learning the sport, these giants go down Marysville, the Hall of Fame, Rich Linsmeyer, Mark Perry, Kevin Jeffries, and every time they felt like they were legends to wrestling based. With relationships, I also make coaching at Westfield League were incredible. For those who don't know, where Marysville sits, the Kalal Reservation separates Marysville and Stanwood. And we had incredible matches with Stanwood that really meant the world to us. We pulled the kids in every time and said, guys, you know how much I hate Ray Matter. I hate him. It's a DP, guys. I hate him. But we wrestled for Blue Sonic several times. And my last 3 point I was ever nailed, Ray came up and said, John Case during this, I kind of got a great break on this one. The ref goes, Ray, that's the point it was you too. So, what a great friend, and what great memories. I truly believe both programs helped each other, forced each other to get off their game, and it was wonderful for our communities to have that rival. I would often say at the banquet, what did the taxpayer get from this? As they paid our wages, our uniforms, our hotel rooms, our buses, what did they get? And the answer is one hell of a good deal. They got a phenomenal deal. The kids came out of it better. The kids came out of it goal setting, hard work, accomplishments. We all get better with good things, but we get better with bad things. We were in the middle of a pretty good run. We were going for a third league title. A wrestler that we brought over to North Iowa Wrestling Camp a few months earlier took out a gun and shot 5 kids in the head. He shot another wrestler through the jaw. We had to try to put this back together. And you, wrestling community, were so wonderful to us. Everywhere we went, people were great. You understood. They got through it. And our kids learned to keep on keeping on. And the lesson on a bad thing was as good as the championships. Bad things are going to happen. You can get through tough things. And that was tough. And our kids made it through. And again, it was for you. I truly believe what we do matters. What we do makes a difference. Our communities and our schools are better because of you. And that's not a light thing. As our world gets crazy, we're better because of this. I am so honored to be a part of this group. Thank you very much.
A couple quick comments before I move on to our fourth inductee. I started thinking that every one of these inductees today, we're kind of entering a second generation of coaches, because every one of these honorees wrestled for a Hall of Famer in their careers, in their high school careers. After our next inductee, Kevin, is inducted, there will be 4 people who have fathers that were inducted. Brent Barnes and his father Ray, myself and my father Jim, and then today we have both Craig and Rick, as well as Kevin and his father Fred. So we have a kind of second generation happening that has moved on to our coaches currently being inducted. Kevin Kalal grew up in wrestling for his Hall of Fame father Fred Kalal at R.A. Long High School. Earlier this week in a wrestling meeting, I described Kevin as the exact reason the Washington State wrestling coaches chose to recognize assistants and middle-level coaches a few years ago. He did not desire to be the head coach, and I think he actually preferred to be the guy working as the assistant, able to contribute on so many different levels. Kevin has coached development and prep for over 30 years and has been a key contributor to his school, to his league, and to the state. Wrestling is not a huge sport in Bellarmine, yet they continue to produce quality individuals who just compete. 2 state champions, 16 medalists, they're among those who have wrestled for the Lions. Kalal has been a key component of running wrestling in the Narrows League and now in the South Puget Sound League. For the past 8 years, he has helped with the media at Matt Classic, and for the past 3, he has been the media manager. In recognition of his lifetime service to wrestling, I'm proud to present Kevin Kalal as a member of the class of 2023.
Okay. So, real quickly, paybacks are a bitch. Let me just start with that. So, about 2 years ago, our head coach, Bart Ainsley, and his fiance come to my house and sit down and like, hey, we need to talk to you. I said, about what? Jim, don't start my tongue yet. And it's like, what's going on? And they come in and they're sitting down and it's like, hey, we want you to marry us. I'm like, me? Assistant wrestling coach? Marry you? How do I do that? The internet. But that was a joke, by the way. So anyway, so I get this marriage license and I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta marry Sparky and his wife and get through this. And I'm an emotional guy. I'm not gonna be able to get through this. So Jim called me this summer, said, hey, you're getting inducted, and I was just so honored for that. And I was like, I'm not going to be able to get through my speech, I guarantee, because I failed twice in my father's introductions. And then, you know, I'm trying to respect some time here. So, but I do want to say this, so you know what, I'll tell you. My three favorite wrestlers in 32 years are here. Riley, Arnie, and Sparky. So this time to present my comments, I'll stand up here with you, and don't screw it up. I'd like to introduce our head wrestling coach at Bellarmine Prep, Sparky Ainsley.
I just want to first say, Kevin, how honored I am to have this opportunity to speak on your behalf, or speak your words. His words. First off, my wonderful girlfriend, Andrea, recently gave me a book called The Checklist Manifesto. And besides being a challenge to see if I could actually read an entire book, I figured I might use some of the techniques discussed by the author in forming my speech. I probably could have used the checklist system to minimize the chances of leaving a wrestler at an away meet. It only happened twice. First, thank you in advance for the forgiveness to everyone who I didn't mention today. But I was told 7 minutes, and I prided myself on starting tournaments on time so they can end on time. Thank you to the Wrestling Coaches Association for providing this honor and recognition of service. I appreciate the ongoing work of the Coaches Association as they lead the body of coaches for continual improvement to our sport. It wasn't that long ago that the postseason was limited to one wrestler per school for each weight class, 20 matches during the regular season, and just boys. The development of girls wrestling has made the greatest impact on participation and accomplishment for all sports in our state over the past 20 years, and that started because of the vision and leadership of the Coaches Association. Thank you to my family and friends who are joining me here today, and many who could not be here as well, especially my mom and my son Jorgensen and my daughter Leah. Thank you to the Myroth family and their lifelong support and leadership to high school wrestling in the state of Washington. Thank you to the Washington State National Hall of Fame committee members and the wonderful work they do to honor the contributions of many individuals from our state on a national level. Thank you to the coaches of the South Puget Sound League for preparing your teams to make our league so outstanding. I also thank the coaches of the former Narrows League who put a lot of trust in me to manage our league tournaments for over 20 years. There are so many great coaches who I've had a lot of admiration and respect for, including Chad Nass, Chris Lacey, Jeff Burbeck, Gaylord Strand, Ron Hoover, and Rocky Eisenman. There are two coaches that I especially enjoyed helping manage events at their schools were Ron Ellis at Henry Foss High School and Dave Johnson at Rogers High School. Thank you to the late Norm Freund, who created the Wrestling Tournament Manager software program I used to run so many tournaments. And extra thanks to the developers of track wrestling who gave me the easy reason why I'll probably never run a tournament ever again. Thank you to Development Prep, especially Principals Chris Gaddett and Cindy Davis, and our athletic directors Ed Pluth and Kevin Minus, who have supported our program for over 30 years, along with our athletic trainer Tigre Garcia, other coaches and development boosters for their support of our program. Thank you to all of our wrestlers who have competed for the Lions. We are truly blessed to get the opportunity to share our love and passion for the sport to a great group of student athletes, many who have never wrestled or seen a match when they walk into our wrestling room. Thank you to one of my greatest friends, David Grisafi, who gave me the opportunity to join him as his assistant coach at Bellarmine Prep in 1992, when we were both working at Cheney Stadium for the Tacoma Tigers. I appreciate David's 20-plus years at Bellarmine as only one of 5 head coaches in our school's 60-year history, as he followed Bill Wetzel, Hall of Fame member Barry Knott, and Steve Hosey. Thank you to all the other assistant coaches who have been a part of the Bellarmine program, most notably Dan Staub and Bill Dodge, who always remind me that every day is a 10. Thank you to our head coach, Sparky Ainsley, who clinched our league championship with a dramatic win in 1988 league finals. Sparky Ainsley, Sparky loves wrestling and Bellarmine. He coaches his teachers with passion and integrity, and I appreciate the honor of being on the staff and continuing to improve our program one practice and one match at a time. Thank you to our assistant coach, Arnie Jorgensen, who gets the honor of being my favorite wrestler. I appreciate his dedication and commitment to working with our wrestlers. Most of them have never wrestled when they walk into our wrestling room. Thank you to the legend of our coaching staff, assistant coach Boo Brody, who held the Guinness Book of World Record for thumb push-ups. Yes, it is. Hailing from the state of Wisconsin and home of Lee Kemp, who has seen some things. In his 50-plus years of competing and coaching wrestling, and enjoys sharing his knowledge and skills with our wrestlers. I am thankful to be a part of this coaching staff. They do all of the heavy lifting in the wrestling room. We enjoy the ongoing challenge of developing our program. We had 2 state placers last year. We remain focused on the importance of celebrating the success of every single match, and we usually do that best at the West End Tavern. I love you guys. Thank you to my first wrestling coach, Pat King, and everyone else who coached in the Longview Youth Program or assisted at RA Long. Thank you to former RA Long coaches, Amari Piper, a member of the inaugural class of this Hall of Fame in 1984, and my father's coach, Les Smith. As a third-generation lumberjack, I thank my classmates and teammates at RA Long, especially 3 of my teammates who have passed away: Seth Brown, Roger Dalton, and Brandon Jensen. Thank you to the RA Long wrestlers of the 70s and early 80s who were my heroes as a kid and embraced the motto, I believe. Thank you to the greatest lumberjack, Pat Connors, for his historic accomplishment as Washington's first 4-time state champion, providing the final highlight to my father's coaching career. My father was most proud of the number of his wrestlers who went on to coach as well, as no one has been more successful as a coach than Pat Connors. Thank you to my father, Fred Killer Kalal, who was the head coach at RA Long for 24 years and is a member of the State and National Wrestling Hall of Fame. As Little Killer, I always wanted to be at Saturday practice or getting on the bus to head to a match or tournament with the Lumberjacks. This is where I developed interest and skill for managing dual matches and tournaments, but also my passion for coaching. It is definitely a special honor to share the father-son honor with the Barnes, Iversens, Myros, and Tomaras. My final thank you goes to former RA Long Wrestling head coach Darren Dalmore, longtime assistant coach Ron Lindsay, who despite my father's failing health, made a heroic effort to take my dad on the bus to the league wrestling tournament. I'm pretty sure that there's nowhere else my dad would have wanted to be that day, getting to cheer on the Lumberjacks one last time. Besides, it was February and the golf courses were probably closed. I leave you with one final thought for the upcoming season. and is simply to be thankful. I would challenge you to express thanks and gratitude to at least one person at each match and tournament, especially someone you may not know. Perhaps a table worker, a public address announcer, a bus driver, custodian, athletic trainer. Send an email to a faculty member who came to watch the match, and especially the officials. There's a lot of people who support our sport. Just remember to say thank you. Go Cougs.
Yes, knowing Kevin is a good thing, Sparky read that. We would not admit it for a while. Congratulations. I need to tell you one Kevin story. As I sit down here, I think of things that I know these people for. So Kevin talked about track wrestling. I was a long time resistor of track. Now I call Leanne every Saturday because I need things done and she takes care of it for me. But Kevin refuses to use track wrestling. And here's an example. I couldn't be there to run Roger's tournament a couple years ago. Kevin wanted to use Norm's program. That's an old program. It only runs on certain computers. They're old computers. Kevin found a computer that it worked on, entered the tournament, would not turn it off, charged the battery, did not shut it on the drive from his house to Rogers High School so that it wouldn't stop and turn off. And I'm sure he made the mouse move like this so he didn't go to sleep because he did not want to use track, he wanted to use Norm's manager. So he does help with tournaments, and he's coming around, but I don't think we're going to get track of his repertoire here pretty quick. Maybe, we'll see. Besides, I want to make Bob wait a little longer. In fact, that's my first line of our next speech. I saved our next inductee until last, mostly to make him sweat it out just a little bit longer. And as a long-time Washington State Wrestling Coaches Association president, I felt he could have the honor of wrapping things up for us. For 40 years, Bob Freund has been a part of Kelso Wrestling. Excuse me, Bobby. You all know him as Bobby. First as a wrestler, and then he returned as head coach in 1991 after wrestling and coaching in college. The Highlanders have won 14 state tournament trophies, 23 top 10 finishes, 159 state medals, 28 state champions. Their 4 children each competed at the Tacoma Dome, earning state medals, a total of 7 state medals. His teams won 7 academic state championships, and 43 of his wrestlers were named academic state championship individual winners. Bob doesn't know how many Coach of the Year honors he received, but he can tell you right away about the academic success of his wrestlers, and I believe that says a lot as his goal as a wrestling coach. Kelso was one of the first schools to start tournaments for girls in the mid-2000s, and they currently host the largest girls tournament in the country. The 2 of us coached the first national girls team to place 2nd and then 3rd in the nation in Fargo. Girls wrestling in Washington would not be where it is currently without Bob's dedication to move the sport forward. Bob has served the Coaches Association in a variety of capacities, including president and clinic coordinator. The management of wrestling in Washington has been heavily influenced by Bob Freund, and we are grateful for his work that has benefited all wrestlers. I'm proud to recognize Bob Freund as a newly inducted member of the Washington State Wrestling Coaches Association Hall of Fame, class of 2023.
So one side that people don't know about me is I'm pretty emotional. So you got it, Bob. You got it. So I put this in 43 font. And I have a backup in case I fail. Kevin, your dad. We were in the old days when we weighed in, everybody went to breakfast. Remember those days? It was great. Okay? And then we went and wrestled, and we wondered why our kids performed so poorly in the first round. Right? But we were full of coaches. Killer Kalal. We were there, and he couldn't find his keys to get, what do you have, a Galaxy 500 or something? I don't know what he had. I mean, it's like that. And he's like, Friend, where's my keys? And I'm like in my mid-20s. And he's like, where's my keys? And I'm like, Killer, I don't know. And then we looked and we looked and we looked. They were in the ignition. And that happens a little bit today at Kelso. So anyways, I'm going to read this and we'll see how it goes. First of all, I'd like to thank the WSWCA Executive Board and especially Jimmy Meyerhoff for this evening and recognizing me with this induction. I've been to these every year for years, and so it's a little crazy to be standing here myself. You know, I heard Scott Jones was inducted in 2010, and I didn't realize he was that much older than me. The WSWC has been a big part of my life, and members of the board, Brad and Bryan and Jimmy and Chris Rothbard, Boomer, Todd, Craig, and there's a number of others with Scott and Kevin and these guys that came before them. I've appreciated these coaching friendships very much, and I look forward to every year that we've spent time together promoting and supporting wrestling in our state. 7 minutes is over. Jimmy Meyerhoff has been a lifelong friend of mine since we were in college.
You got a Bob, let's go.
So the fact that Jimmy runs the Hall of Fame, is in the Hall of Fame, and I'll be honoring him, join him and a number of others. It means a lot, it really does. Like Jimmy said, he said to me that this was Jimmy, a lot of it, when we started the girls. We always took 2 or 3 girls to Fargo, but, you know, it wasn't sanctioned like that. This was a team that we took. And Jimmy and I were talking one day, and we're like, we've got to get more girls going. This is a sport. So on Saturday morning of weigh-ins at state, you know, we knew that these were the top 6, 8 girls in the state that were coming through. So every morning, that morning, we handed flyers out to every girl to come to Fargo and try to do the team. And every girl made it. So there was, you know, there shouldn't have been any reason not to try and go and experience it. So we started out with about, I don't know, 22, 23 girls, grew from there for the next couple of years, and then we handed it off. And so to see where that's gone in the great years has been awesome to see. But anyways, Jimmy's done a lot for our state. He does this Hall of Fame. We got to appreciate everything that he's done. He's been a great friend of mine. We've been in each other's weddings, so it's been a lifelong thing we've appreciated. I'd like to thank my family for allowing me to never be home 11 months out of the year because I coached club throughout. And actually, I really wasn't home even 12 months a year because the 1 month I was off, I pretty much spent the month of August fishing in Astoria every day. So I didn't get a whole lot done around the house for quite a few years. My wife Denise has done and worn a lot of hats to help Kelso Wrestling be successful and has been more than flexible, as a lot of our coaches know that our wives do for us, to allow me to spend time with wrestling and with the kids. Still trying to sometimes wonder, she never complained much, so I'm not sure she enjoyed that I was gone, or anyways, you get that. My kids, Avery, who's my oldest, she's coaching at Edmonds Woodway right now, which I really don't like, but Alfie's, for the most part, he's okay, so I think she's in decent hands. Christian, my second, will be helping us out at Kelso when he can. And then Ellie, who is one of the twins that just graduated last year, will be in the room this year. And And then I have Ethan, who is at the Air Force Academy right now wrestling. I'd like to thank my parents, Buzz and Judy, probably which they probably don't remember this, but they didn't let me join boxing at the Kelso Box Club when I was a kid. And so it kind of forced me to find the next thing, which was wrestling. But they spent a lot of hours hauling me and around in tournaments, taking me to Portland to practice, doing things like that, so I appreciate it. I'd like to thank this group of people that supported what I think was the build of wrestling in Kelso. Chuck Scheibler was one of my first assistants, and Dave Holter, Dick Ford, and Terry Anshoes. Terry's a guy that's been with us, actually when I was maybe 4th grade, Terry took me to my very first tournament ever in Moses Lake. And today he still is at most everything that we do. And we run a lot of fundraisers out in his store. So I really appreciate that. And Lloyd Malone, who's, so Lloyd, this next story.
You got it, Bob.
Dude, I'm losing it.
Anyway, Lloyd lives next door. He's like a big brother. And we share well, so we turn my water off sometime. I'll leave it at that. But no, Lloyd's been very active in our program, his wife. The thing about this is, it's a family. It's been a family. I mean, when you look at the lineage of all of this, it's all local people that have stuck together and done this to make it happen. So many people along the way have inspired me, motivated me, corrected me when I was wrong, which was a lot, and supported me and celebrated with me when there was success. Kevin McNulty, who nominated me, Craig Hansen, Scott Jones, Honors and Parallels, Aaron Childs, Pat Hines, Brent Barnes, Phil McLean, Brian Smith, just to name a few, and there's so many others that have impacted me in ways. I'd like to thank the Kelso Wrestling family that have coached and helped grow our program where it is today. A lot of those who has coached with me, I actually coached, actually pretty much all of them, and they still stick around, which is amazing. Helping me get started was, again, Chuck Scheibler, Terry Anshoes, and then Ray Cat, but I started getting back wrestlers that wrestled for me and trained with me. And that made a big impact in our program. 2 coaches that have been with me for 20 plus years is Pat Connors, who was an Artie Long kid, which we don't hold against him too much, but came and trained with me all the time after his practice, and he has a huge impact on our program. Second is Tyson Lindeman, he was in my first group of kids when I came to Kelso, and Tyson has helped me grow the girls tournament, breaking 64 to one of the largest girls collegiate tournaments in the country. And it would not be where it is today without Tyson's support and organizational skills and his continual support. I'm not very organized. Currently, that wrestled for me, I have Ryan Innings, Riley Miller, Brandon and Justin Sitch, and EJ Newton that all wrestled in the Kelso program and are back now running the boys' side of everything. These guys have done a tremendous job, and I truly appreciate that. When the font's big, it takes a few pages. I would also like to thank my middle school guys that have been consistent with Coach Zach Coulter and Jared Cadwell, who has wrestled for me also. And then a long-standing coach, Mike Means, he grew up with me in grade school all the way through Kelso Youth Wrestling, and he is still coaching at Kelso, and yes, he's older than me. Doug Ingerbo, this is crazy, but Doug, again, and this is that family connection. Doug is our weight assessor, okay? And Doug and I started kindergarten together when we were kids, and he decided, he's like, hey, I can do this for you guys and support you. Again, a big part of our off-season stuff has been our buy-in by our kids that have wrestled freestyle and Greco. And I'm not going to go over stats, it's written down, but a lot of those kids for our program were very successful, and that turnover completely supported what we were doing during the 3 months during the winter. We've had a lot of boosters in our community. I remember talking when I first came in, everybody knew Seibel. Everybody knew that Moses Lake was one of the perennials at those times, and they were financially very stable. And I used to listen to Jamie Wise, who was a good friend of mine, talk about the checks that would just roll in sometimes. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. And, over the time, we've had wrestlers that have left, and all of them have continually supported our program. And that has made so many things available for our kids to go do, tournament-wise, wrestling-wise, because all of us know our budgets are not great. So it costs us to compete every weekend, it costs us to travel every weekend. And by this continual support of building a booster club and a culture, it is completely turned wrestling around at Kelso. And we're not talking like small dollars either. We've had some contributions that have been crazy. So, lastly, I want to thank and acknowledge 33 years of wrestlers that have made Kelso Wrestling a name. They bought into a philosophy. They bought into a hot wrestling room. 85 degrees is where we put the mark every day. They put up with the demand of just attitude and perfection, and stressing the importance of appreciating teammates and having gratitude for where they're at and what they have. Like every program, there's been a ton of success to celebrate, but there's also been some very gut-wrenching situations that keep us in check and grounded. All these years have molded us into what we are today, some of which we are very proud of, and obviously some that we're not very much, that if we could reflect back on, we would have done differently. But hopefully everyone grew from every experience. I've sat here for years listening to these coaches give these speeches, so I'm honored to be a part of this club. I'm also very honored to impact hundreds of young men and women that have been a part of our life and share their wrestling journey with us and our staff. We've had, I don't know what in there, 28 state champions. We've had like 6 national champions out of Kelso. Number of runner-ups in Fargo. So I truly appreciate the commitment and dedication that it takes, because that doesn't happen in 3 months or 4 months. That's 9, 10, 11 months of training every year. And these people have impacted not only me, but the program, and to achieve some special things that have handed down year and year to other kids. Anyways, I know Jim, you only gave me 7 minutes, that's why I put me last, to talk. Is there any questions at this point? So, at this point, you guys could maybe nudge the person next to you and wake them up. That would be nice. But other than that, again, I'm truly thankful for not just the WSCA, but just being a part of the state of Washington and the friendships when I look out around this room that I've made over the years. So thank you very much.
Okay, to one guest who missed the pre-conference meeting for this about time. Well done, Bob. Well done, everybody. I think you heard a lot today about relationships, friendships, and the bonds we make with wrestlers and other coaches and the people and families. One more big round of recognition for all of our award winners and Hall of Fame inductees. for your attendance and support of those honored tonight. We wish you safe travels home. Hope to see you at wrestling events around the state as the high school season begins in 9 days. Thank you and good night. I'm going to clear the stage so we can get some pictures with families. I would like to have all 7 of our honorees come up, please, quickly, so we can get one large group picture and then we'll distribute out to what you want to do with families. All 7 of our honorees quickly up here one more time. Pictures. So when they're done with this picture, we'll cycle through individuals.